Hi Flosstube, it's Karen, recovering monogamous stitcher. This is Friday, October 13, 2023. Ooh, spooky day. Or if you're not superstitious like me, you don't care. So, let's see, this is Flosstube number 29. I want to thank you so much if you are a returning viewer. I appreciate your time so much. There are so many Flosstubes out there, and there are more new ones every day. So I really appreciate when you choose to spend your time with me. And I always try to be respectful of your time and keep things moving so I don't waste your time. And you can move on to someone else when you're finished watching. So welcome to my faithful followers. I appreciate it very much. And if you're new, and I do have some new subscribers recently, if you're new, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. And if you've just stumbled across the channel, I hope you see something you like and that you'll choose to subscribe and click the bell so you're notified every time a video goes up. So welcome. I have a lot of things to go through. I have fully finished, I have finished stitches, I have WIPs. I'm going to show you my WIP basket. I had Stitchy kindness, a teensy weensy little bit of haul, and a quilt behind me, but we'll do the quilt last. So, okay, the first thing I want to show you is, the first thing I need to say is that we had the celebration of 3,000 subscribers, and I had some things that I shared. 4 of them have been mailed out. Those 4 people responded lickety-split, but I was waiting to hear from the other 2 and didn't hear. So finally I mailed the first 4 out yesterday, but there are 2 I've still not heard from. So, Marianne Johnson, I've not heard from you. I need your mailing address so I can send you this pattern. And Linda Melts, again, I need your mailing address so I can mail this out to you. Use my recoveringmonogamousstitcher@gmail.com email address. It's printed in the notes below. Get that to me as soon as you can, please. I'd like to get this wrapped up before we go to Florida. November 1st is quickly approaching, and I don't want to have to take it with me and not get it lost and all that stuff. So let's get that wrapped up. I'd appreciate that. Okay, I have a fully finished object, as I said. This was a long time coming. The stitching was quick. The stitching took me 3 days, and then it sat for more than a year because I was afraid to finish it. Let me show you what this is. This was a free pattern from Whilst Iris Naps called Let It Snow. Cute little hanging ornament. She released it in 2021. I downloaded it, didn't stitch it until 2022. Got it done, as I said, in 3 days. And then I didn't finish it because look at the finishing. Isn't it gorgeous? It's beading all around the edge and beading for the hanger. And I was scared to death to do it. I bought the beads, I bought the tacky bill to put the beads in, and I kept putting it off because I was afraid I'd never done beading. And then, let's see, on Tuesday we had a meeting with the Central Kentucky Stitchers, and I thought maybe I'll take it with me because there are a couple of really expert beaders in that group and they can show me how to do it. But when I looked at the instructions, the beading had to be done as part of sewing it closed. So I had to do it. I couldn't take it and leave it. So here's my finish, and these little charms want to keep turning around backwards. She had 4 charms, I had 5, mostly because I didn't space them very well. But I did it, and I dated it on the back, of course, when I finished it, 2022, sadly. We're approaching 2023 Christmas, or winter. This is winter as far as I'm concerned, not Christmas. So I'll hang this for the whole season. I'm very afraid that the thread will break and I'll have beads flying all over from this part. But she had a very clever finish. You back stitched all the way around. I stitched this on Edita, by the way. This was stitched on 16 count Edita. It's snow on aqua, and it's a fabric flare. So it's a printed fabric. You can see the little dots on it. The snowflakes are stitched, but the dots. It was really really fun. But anyway, when you finish stitching, you did back stitch around all 4 sides of each of the pieces, and it had to be exactly the same number, of course, of stitches. And in her instructions, she said do it 3 rows outside of the pattern edge, which I did apparently on all sides except one, because when I was putting it together, I got to one side that was strangely was 3 rows too far short. So I had to get that straightened out and finish it. But I did finish it. Her instructions really were good. I was just afraid of it. And she has pictures. Let me just flip through a little bit and show you her pictures of the finishing. She shows you exactly what to do. And if you're braver than moi, so see, she has really good pictures. She shows you exactly how to do it. So that's a free pattern from Whilst Iris Naps. I'll try to link it below, although I'm not very good at making those links live. I don't know how to do that on my Flosstube notes. So if not, I'll at least put the link in there and you can paste it into your browser and find it. But here it is, Let It Snow. I'm really happy with it. I filled it mostly with fiber fill, but I did put a layer of walnut shells kind of in the middle to give it a little weight. And I used squares of batting that I folded and put in the corners to help those stay and not get all floppy. I think they're pretty good. There's a little dimple in this one. I could have done a better job there. But overall, I'm happy with the finish. I'm glad to finally have it off my plate. You know, I like to get those WIPs stitched. It's the finishing that holds me up. So Let It Snow from Whilst Iris Naps. That was a fun one. Okay, I have a finished, and you probably can guess what this one is. Oops. Jane Parson, 1841 sampler. Let me stick this back in my folder because this is my PDF, so it's all separate pages. I stitched this on 28 count clay casual linen. Of course, 28 count is casual. It doesn't, that's a different discussion. I'll save that for another time. I stitched it on 28 count. The color of linen was clay. I used Ginnie Thompson's Flower Thread. I purchased the pattern, of course, from the Wishing Thorn. And Birgit at the Wishing Thorn also had the packet of flower thread. I enjoyed the experience of stitching with flower thread because it's thicker than a DMC. So if I were stitching this with DMC on 28 count, I would certainly be using 2 strands of floss. But flower thread, 1 strand was plenty. See, look how filled it is. Love that little bird. And I did the 1/1 stitching on the cartouche with her name and the strawberries. The strawberries look black there. They're red, dark red. Anyway, and I heard Brenda on Brenda and the Serial Starter mention that she was stitching on 32 count, and in her opinion, the flower thread was too thick to do 1/1. And I stitched on 28. So that may be the tipping point between 1/1 working and not working. Now it was very tight. By the time I went by color, so I got all the green done all the way around, and then I went back and did the strawberries, and it was tight. And in some of those places, you know, where the linen is not like even weave, there's thickness and thick threads and thin threads. In some of the places where there was a thick thread, yeah, it was rather hard, and it did kind of shove some of the other threads, distorted a little bit. But when I did my pressing, that all seemed to be fine. So here she is, Jane Parson done. Now the sale is not over. If you're stitching Jane Parson, please continue to post your progress pictures. The sal is Jane Parson Sal. That's it, hashtag Jane Parson Sal on Instagram. And I'd love to see your progress, see how you're doing. Keep going, there's no end date to this, and I really seem to speed along on this because that was my September sampler, and that's all I took on my trip, so that's all I worked on my trip, and it didn't take very long for me to finish it once I got back. Jane Parson. She's a beauty. Thank you, Birgit, who, by the way, keeps sending me emails of new new samplers, and I go, oh no, stop, because I want them all. Okay, so I've done an FFO and an FO. Here are the WIPs I've worked on in the last 2 weeks. Maria Vincenza Larrichia, she is my focus piece. And if you're new here, I'll just tell you that I always have a red sampler going, and my oldest WIP is always my focus piece. So this one is ticking both of those boxes right now. She happens to be my oldest WIP. I started her in January 17th of this year. So she's my focus piece. That means I give 7 days in a month, and she remains my focus until she is done. Actually, I got quite a bit done this month. Okay, it makes a big difference going from 3 days a month, which is what I would normally do on a red sampler, to 7 days in a month, which is what I do on a focus piece. So I had just I'd done most of this line. I think I had Ano and maybe those 2 symbols, but all the rest of this I did in that 7 days. And I'm so glad to finally see some significant progress, because frankly, this one's getting to be a bit of a slog. I'm stitching it on 56 count linen, and I'm using Soie Surfine silk number 2523, Soie Surfine. And when you're stitching on 56 count, it takes a lot of stitches to cover that real estate. That was one huge difference when I was stitching on Jane Parson, 28 count. Wow, it seemed to just fly along, and I loved it. Okay, so that's Maria Vincenza Larrichia. She's my focus, and she will continue to be my focus until she's done. Now, the day that I did the finishing on Let It Snow, I fussed and putzed with that most of the day, and then it was later afternoon, and I had more time. It was too early to stop stitching, but I thought, now what am I going to just pick up for that amount of time? I picked up Red Deer. Love Red Deer. This was my birthday start in February. And here it is. Now, in an hour and a half, I didn't get much done, but I'm really happy that I've gotten that much of the border outline done, because when I came back and it didn't have a lot of time, what I did was I filled in a couple flowers. That's what I got done in like an hour and a half. But I cannot wait to get to this big pop down here. And I'm kind of afraid to start it from the top down. I think I want to get my border down here and then count from the, I don't know. Just afraid I'm going to mess it up. But I love this. I absolutely love it. I am using mostly DMCs, but if I had the overdye that was called for, I included those. And if you want to know the breakdown, I'm happy to let you know. I purposely did buy the Schoolhouse Red, because that was a lot, and Piney Needles? I don't have my book in front of me, sorry. I think it's Piney Woods is the green, and I wanted to make sure that I had that color consistent throughout the red and the green. And then the other flower pots are filled with smaller amounts of colors, so. Anyway, Red Deer sampler. Love it. Love it, love it. Now, avalanche to come. Better turn this way so it doesn't, okay. Okay, then we had the Central Kentucky Stitchers had a in-person stitch day on Tuesday. So I had to take something that I didn't need magnification or extra light. We meet in a library, and the lighting in that room is pretty good, so that's nice. So I worked on this Dimensions kit. It's called Mason Jars. Oh, Mason Jar Lineup. Yeah, Mason Jar Lineup is the actual. And I've started on this center jar here. This had been on my wish list for a couple years, and we were going to go on a trip last summer, and I thought, oh, that'll be a good one to take on my trip because it's on 14 count Aida. I won't need magnification. I'll be able to do it. Well, that was not a good choice for a trip. For one thing, look at all these colors. I think they're like 34 colors. And it's the most complicated chart I've ever seen because there's a symbol, of course, for each of the different colors. And then there's a different symbol for when you use one strand of one color and one strand of another color, separate symbol. And then there's a separate symbol if those stitches happen to be half stitches. It's very complicated, so I would never do this on a trip. I need real concentration to do this. But so here are the threads. I assume they're DMC. It came with the Dimensions kit. And here's my start on the jar. It's starting to come together. And the half stitches are very effective in making the jar look translucent. It's very nice, but it's going to be, when this becomes my focus piece, oy. It's complicated. So be warned, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I can't wait to get it done. I say that about all of them, don't I? I can't wait to get them done. Okay, then my other WIP that I worked on, Modern Folk Embroidery. Forget Me Not is the name of the pattern, and I'm using Katie Strachan's instructions for mounting it on a wooden box, and I'm doing this to commemorate 6 generations in the maternal line in my family, and it ends with my daughter, so that she will be getting this box. And I shared before of the sad saga of miscutting, and so I'm back on track now. These are the bottommost stitches, and I have plenty. This is the bottommost stitches here. This is the outermost here. This is the lid, which is the biggest piece because it covers the lid plus goes down on all 4 sides. So I'm well on my way. I wanted to do the outlines of things first before taking time to fill them in, and I'm about ready to start filling them in. So, and then I have to strategize as to leaving enough space for the specific initials and numbers I want to put on each side. So anyway, it's coming along. I do need to put my the pedal to the metal on that one though, because you know, tick-tock. I was hoping to get that stitched in 2023, and since I had a restart, I'm not sure that it will get stitched in 2023, and I want to move along. So okay, those were my WIPs. And when I was at Central Kentucky Stitchers meetup, I was asked how many WIPs I have, and I don't even know, but it's, of course, I'm recovering an Agma stitcher. It's more than one. I do stitch on more than one thing at a time. So I brought my WIP basket. Let me move this out of the way. And we'll count them. I've shown this before. I have my project rolls at the back, and it helps hold them up because I don't have all that many in here. And I have a few, couple different hoops standing at the front. So, okay, I'll just pull these in the order that they're in here. Okay, Prairie Schooler Santas, you've seen these before. They're in various stages here. The same one I worked on oops, I had my threads wrapped in there so I wouldn't have to lose them. So I have several on this fabric, and I think there are 3 or 4 more to go after I get that one done. So, and I'm finishing these for daughter. So that's a WIP. Another WIP, Blue Flower. This is another one I started for daughter. She saw it in the kit parade and said she liked it and would like it. So it jumped way up on my priorities, and I got a good start on that. So in addition to the ones I showed, that's 2 additional. And then I have Sweet Summer Come Again. I have my little conversion here for the threads that I'm doing. I'm doing this for Leanne's Legacy, and I put it in my stitch bag that I did for Summer Stitch Camp for Colorado Cross Stitcher. And this is my start. I did that on August 24th because that's Leanne's birthday. So that's 3 in addition to the other ones I worked on already. And from Scarlet House, little red chair sampler. I have a start on this. And I told you when I was at StitchCon, one of my viewers came up and showed me her finish of this that she did on 56 count. Oh my word, how darling. I haven't gotten back to this yet. It'll pop up in my rotation sometime. And speaking of doing it on 56 count, I'm reminded of Stitching in Costume, Catherine Adrian, the wonderful tour she did of her friend, was it Ashley Sawyer? All of the things she did over one on 25 or 28. Oh, gorgeous, just gorgeous. Okay, next WIP, Margaret Doyle. This was an exclusive from Kitten Stitcher. This is Hands Across the Sea. And I gave this a start when I was realizing that all of my outstanding WIPs were huge and I wanted to get something small going. And this, I'm stitching this on the called for fabric. Kitten Stitcher did a cut that was the appropriate size, so that's what I'm doing it on. And I'm doing all DMC floss on this. So is that 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, this is number 5 in addition to the ones that are in my current rotation. And then I have 3 that are sitting in here, jumping up and down saying, me next, me next. And I put them in here because I can't wait to start them. Okay. Counting is Hard from Luminous Fiber Arts. I stitched this for the Smalls Exchange at StitchCon, and I'm anxious to stitch it for myself. I have, this is either Vintage Country Mocha or something I dyed myself. I think when I was, maybe when I was experimenting, I seem to remember when I was experimenting with Rosetta Featherstone and seeing what I would do about that Ada that I thought was too white. Maybe I missed, I don't know. It'll be in my book when I start it. Now I'm getting tangled. Okay. And this one is jumping up and down saying, me next, me next. Peaceful Kingdom from Little Robin. When the queen is happy, there is peace in the kingdom. Truer words were never said. And I thought I would use the DMC 115, the variegated 115. I'm going to give that a try. I think that'll be cute. The other thing that's jumping up and down is tomato stuff. Keeper of the Pins, Brenda Gervais. I want to start that. Of course, do all of those. This is a freebie from Jeanette Douglas. She has a yearly thing. This one has a theme of tomatoes. I want to do that. It's a little one. I have all these in the same bag, kind of a tomato themed bag. There's another freebie from Leela Studio. Tomato. And then I have the I Collect pincushion. That's also Brenda Gervais with the needle and thread. And Queen of the Needle, Brenda Gervais with the needle and thread. I have some tomato theme things that I want to get going on. So I can do a little display with my giant tomato. I showed you that before. So those are the things in my WIP basket right now, in addition to the ones I'm currently stitching in rotation. So yes, I have recovered from being a monogamous stitcher, and it doesn't hurt at all. Okay. That was my WIP basket. Stitchy Kindness. In the last video, I mentioned to you that when I was on my cruise, they had arranged for handcrafters to get together, and I mentioned some of the people I met, and one was a quilter extraordinaire from Phoenix, Arizona. I want to show you what she sent me. Oh my word, wrapped beautifully in tissue. This is rescued from an old quilt. Look what she does. She cleans them and cuts out parts that could be saved, and she embellishes. She put pearls and little tiny sequins, and oh, it's gorgeous. And she made this wonderful pincushion and sent it to me. It's beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much, Chris. I don't think she watches Flosstube, but I'll thank her anyway. And I have to thank her now. I have to do, what can I do? She's not a cross-stitcher, but she's a quilter. Some handy-dandy little bag or something I'll have to do, a zipper pouch or something. Anyway, she'll get a little surprise from me. And then another Stitchy kindness, at the Central Kentucky Stitchers, one of our members, oh gosh, she always brings in a basket of stuff. She had some linens and she had some patterns this time. The previous time she had fabrics. And one of our stitchers grabbed this one, which is coffee bean linen, 32 count. And she doesn't like linen. When she picked it up, she thought it was going to be Edita. So she sent it to me so I could have it in my collection. That's a beautiful color. There will be a special project that will go on that. Thank you so much to Jody for sharing, and to Julia for sending it on to me. Thank you so much. Okay, that was Stitchy Kindness. Haul, I have very little haul because I am in the dead zone right now. Our trip to Florida is imminent and I have to stop ordering. I did do a pre-order with Kitten Stitcher though for my book of days. I believe that will come next week. And then I also ordered the fabric that I'm going to use for Smith Sampler, and I'm copying Sarah from Sarah's Stitchy Spot. The fabric she used, it was a color and cotton. Now the name of it just went out of my head. Listen to her previous Flosstube, and she said what it was. She's stitching it on 36 count, and I'm going to do it on 40. But I'm taking her color so I don't have to figure it out. And I purchased the Vicki Clayton silks. They came lickety-split. And I got a bobbin box that I could put them in, and I have the conversion. So I will be stitching Smith Sampler with Vicki Clayton silks on the color and cotton fabric. That's my haul. That's the end of that. Okay, plans. Well, the first plan that comes to my mind is the Jingle Ball. This is Friday the 13th, and at 7 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, ticket sales will open. I have a list. I have a list of things I want to buy. First of all, you buy a ticket for general admission. That gets you into the Stitch meetup rooms. It gets you into meeting the designers at specific times. There are a couple free classes that anyone can go to, anyone with that ticket can go to. And then in addition, there are additional ticketed classes. And I have picked mine out and I'm ready to go. I don't know if, it's going to be like a mad rush and things will sell out like crazy, or if it'll be kind of leisurely. I have no idea, but I'm prepared. I'm ready. 7 p.m. I'll be on that computer and I have my list and I'm going to get my tickets. So I hope you're interested in the Jingle Ball. It should be great fun. Put on, it's the brainchild of Stephanie Webb from Lindy Stitches. And they've worked hard to get the technology all up to snuff. And when we did the needlebook class, when was that? Was that in August? Anyway, whenever that was, the technology was great, so I'm anticipating it'll be great fun. I missed it last year because I got the email about it and I thought, oh, that sounds like fun, but I didn't know what I would be doing that weekend. I thought, oh, do I dare do it? And then have something come up and da-da-da. Well, actually, so I missed it and I felt like I'd really missed something great. And actually, if you have the ticket for something and something comes up, your ticket gets you access to the recorded class for 30 days. So, you're not going to lose. So that's my first big plan. My next big plan is I got into StitchCon Weekend A, so I'm planning for that. Looking forward to that, meeting other Flosstubers and any of my followers who are there. Come up and introduce yourself. I'd love to meet you. I met several last year. It was great fun. So I'm looking forward to that. And then, of course, I'm going to continue on my stitching rotation. And I'm trying to decide what I'm going to take to Florida. We're going to have a little different situation this year. And when we're down there, I'll talk to you about it. And so I have to decide what I'm going to take. Okay, so did the haul, did the plans. We're on to the quilt. So if you're not interested in hearing about the quilt, have a good day. See you in a couple weeks. If you are a recipient of my celebration and you need to send me your mailing address, please do so, because if I don't get it before my next Flosstube, I will draw prior to that Flosstube and name two different winners, because I want to get that wrapped up, taken care of. Okay, this quilt. This quilt is called Butterfly Patch Quilt. The designer is Edita Sitar. It is done with batiks, and my granddaughter did this with me when she was 8 years old. It was great fun. We used the Accuquilt Go cutter. I bought Edita Sitar's, what do you call it? It's not a stencil. It's not a stencil, but you roll it through the cutting machine. It's dies. It's shape, dies shape, and it has 3 shapes in it: top wing, bottom wing, and the center. And then you layer your fabric and roll it through and cut it out. And that's what granddaughter did. And I let her do all of the color designs. I said, I don't care. You decide what colors go together. Just I want the top wings to match and the bottom wings to match. Otherwise, you do it however you want. And she had great fun with that, and she did all the cutting for me. Let's see, included the butterfly pieces plus the stems and leaves there that you see on the side. I have another set of cutters that do that. And she was the artist, and she talked about warm colors and cool colors. Wow. So kudos to public school art teachers who teach that stuff. That's great. I think I must have been an adult before I understood or had the concept of warm colors and cool colors. I don't know. So we had great fun with it. Now I'm going to give you a close-up look. So hang on. Okay, and of course I can't see what I'm doing here. Okay, so it's 4 across and 5 down, and the size is 51.5 inches by 63.5 inches. So each butterfly is a block. They are backed with iron-on fusible, which I never trust, so even though they were fused on, I did invisible thread, tiny zigzag around the pieces. I just don't trust it. And then for the quilting, my butterflies have feathers, which you can hardly see because I don't know why I was so nervous about it. I should have done contrasting colors. Instead, I did matching colors of the threads. So there are feathers in the butterflies. And then when I did the background quilting, I got like teeny tiny. I don't know why I got so tiny, but I did. That's the way I do it. You'll recognize this one, the figure 8, one of my favorites. Continuous curve. I did double continuous curve in the little patchworks. And I don't know what this is called. Not bubble fill. I don't know what it's called. Double bubble or something it's called in the background. And I did feathers in all of the butterflies. And I used my Pigma pen to do the antenna. I did not, they could have been embroidered or something, but I didn't do that. And then the little patchworks separate the stem and leaf. And again, those were cut with Go Cutter. So a sweet little quilt. Gives me a good memory with granddaughter. We had fun. She was 8. I was thinking in my head, I thought she was 9, but I looked at the label There it is. Whoops, there it is. She was age 8. She did her own little label. I did mine on the other side, and she did her label on that side. So we'll always know that she and I did that together. So that's butterfly patchwork, Edita Sitar, and I used the Accuquilt Go cutter for that. Okay, so that's the quilt. Haven't run out of quilts yet. I don't know. It'll be a little while yet. So I'll see you in 2 weeks. Have good stitchy time, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye, Flosstube.